Welcome back to Trip of Change, the Jackie Robinson Show podcast. Trip of Change is a weekly podcast hosted by Jackie Robinson and produced by Dana Bach, with some of the top thought leaders in the areas of LGBTQIA+, use of pronouns, gender identity, voting rights, intergenerational conversations, news, and feature interviews with industry leaders. Our goal is to provide listeners with key takeaways and actionable advice for having a better understanding of the people we interact with around the world. Let's start the show. Hey girl, hey!
Hey, how are
Happy
you?
Wednesday!
Wednesday it is.
Yes, it is Wednesday, and you're all the way in Portland, Oregon,
Yes, and you're in ATL.
in the ATL, and you in the PDX.
That's right. That's right.
In the PDX.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I had someone ask me today. The organization, the nonprofit organization that we're sponsoring, and we'll get into that. They may come online and give us some information about their organization. But I was talking to the president today, and he was saying that he had a connection with Nike,
Ooh,
and that
yes, I'm wearing
they're
Nike.
working on an invitation from Nike to bring 50 to 60 students to the Nike complex in order to tour the facilities and talk about STEM. And so we'll talk about that in a minute.
Fantastic.
But isn't Nike, that's out in Hillsboro, right?
In Beaverton.
Beaverton.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So I'm excited. I'm excited about that, to hear from him, to see what he has to talk about. But here we are. We are rolling full steam ahead with the Trip of Change podcast with Jackie Robinson, produced by Dana Bach. And hey. And so we got to take care of some housekeeping up front. All right. And so let's go with our disclaimer. Here we go. All right, our disclaimer, because we use references to other websites. Sometimes we might pull in a video from another website. And of course, we have information on our website, which is tripofchange.com. But for our protection and your protection, we have to do this disclaimer. So this video contains some sensitive information. The sole purpose behind making this video is to spread love and information. We hope it will increase your knowledge and understanding of the LGBTQIA plus community. The video content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. Trip of Change does not make any representation or warranties with respect to the accuracy, the applicability, fitness, or completeness of the video content. Trip of Change does not warrant the performance, effectiveness, or applicability of any sites listed or linked to in any video content, and might I add, in our show notes. So, Trip of Change hereby disclaims any and all liability to any party for any direct, indirect, implied, punitive, special, incidental, and other consequential damages arising directly or indirectly from any use of the video content, which is provided as is and without warranties. All right. So we got that out the way, Dana.
Yes.
Got the disclaimer out of the way. And so tonight's show we've got lined up, because it is National Women's History Month. We're going to be highlighting women that we admire. Last week, who did we do last week?
Oh, we had a great list, and on the spot to remember all of them.
Yeah, me too. Senior moment, boomer moment.
Right, right, right.
It was a good show.
It was a good show.
It was a good
Yeah,
show.
yeah.
It was a good
And
show.
yeah, on that note, we could probably post our edited version of our show notes.
Yes.
Chisholm, yes,
Oh yes.
yeah,
Barbara Jordan,
yep,
Shirley
yep,
Chisholm.
yep, yep.
Now it's coming back.
The hamster wheel turning. Yes,
Yes, yes. But tonight's episode is going to be just as fantastic as we talk about several women that we admire. These women are either international or national. And then we're going to talk about some of our local, more personalized women that have influenced our life in some way or fashion. Okay. And so up next is our sponsor. Let's talk about our sponsor. Let's see. There we go. Healthful Essence, vegan, vegetarian, soulful restaurant at healthfulessence.com. And they have some of the most fantastic food when it comes to vegan and vegetarian. I've had it. There are certain things
I
that I
can't wait to
love.
have it.
Not yet, Dana. As soon as you get to Atlanta, that's gonna be one of our first stops.
Right,
is
right.
is Healthful Essence. Um, and they offer a discount when you order online with the Clover app. Located here in Atlanta at 875 York Street, in the West End. They're open with seating and takeout from their menu. So go ahead on and support healthfulessence.com. Oh, and Dana, talk about the cookbook because you say you want to get the cookbook.
Yes, I think that we should all buy the cookbook for our parents, either for Mother's Day or Father's Day or for Easter, which is coming up in April. Nice Easter gift. But as an environmentalist at heart, I really try to eat more of a plant-based diet all the time. So I know I'll be buying it for my parents for the holidays.
Oh,
Come
wonderful, wonderful.
exactly.
And you're absolutely right. You know, the COVID-19 changed a lot. A lot of people took a trip of change when it came to health
Yes.
and nutrition and diet. I know I did. I mean, I lived on vitamin C, elderberry, ashwagandha, turmeric, and I still take my turmeric now. And that's another subject that we'll talk about as we
Yes.
get older, health and some of the things that we need to be doing. So again, that's Healthful Essence Vegan Vegetarian Soul Food. We thank you for your sponsorship. We send a shout out to Quadro and Princess over there at Healthful Essence. Yay. Yay, yay, yay. Okay. All right. Now, let's talk about the women that we admire. Okay.
Yes.
You got anything you want to say before I start this slideshow?
Well, it's just so amazing to learn about all of these women. And most of them are some of them are household names, but we're going to get down to some individuals that have really touched our lives who we really admire in our own communities. But it's just I love learning more about all of these amazing women. And I know there was a big, International Women's Day was yesterday, and I know the radios were all about it, but we're celebrating the whole entire month.
Month.
The whole
Exactly.
month.
The whole
Exactly.
month.
So excited
Exactly.
to learn more.
Right. Okay. So let's start the show. Let me do this. Come over here. All right. Now, we're starting out our women's National Women's History Month for this particular episode, season 4, episode 6, the women that we admire. And I was inspired by the Eunice Johnson. And if you don't know who Eunice Johnson is, Eunice Johnson was an American businesswoman, and she was married to um, the founder of Ebony and Jet magazine. And I forget his name off the top of my head, another senior moment, but we're talking about his wife,
Yes.
Eunice. Now, do you all remember Fashion Fair? That's Eunice, okay? And back in the day. And She founded in 1973 the Fashion Fair cosmetic line, and it was the first international prestige cosmetic brand for darker skinned women, darker toned women. Now that's important
Mm-hmm.
because there's all kind of makeup out here now for all types of tones of skin, but the women with dark skin are still having somewhat of an issue, somewhat of a problem with makeup on the runway, doing fashion shows. But in 1973, Eunice Johnson started Fashion Fair, which was sold, Dana, in Neiman Marcus.
Yes.
Yes, in Neiman Marcus back in the 70s. That was really major. Okay. And the brand broke racial barriers in business and boldly established a new affirmation of Black beauty. Okay, now I remember my first time at the fashion fair beauty counter. It must have been 1976, maybe something in the 70s. And I
Mhm.
and I went to Neiman Marcus and saw this Black beauty line. I was like, oh my goodness. And so I fell in love with fashion fair and started wearing fashion fair makeup. But then things change where, other brands come on the market. And not only that, you have some European brands, Dana, who see the profit in catering to another group of people. And so then they also start to bring in different types of cosmetic lines for women of color. Okay. And so Miss Eunice passed away, and Jet and Ebony magazines, they had some lean years. And so it's like, okay, well, what happened to Fashion Fair? I had no idea until I saw this news report about Desiree Rogers. Now, if you don't remember Desiree, do you remember Desiree Rogers, Dana?
I do not, but I was so excited to learn about her today or over the course of our research. Yes.
Okay, Desiree Rogers was the social secretary for President Obama and
Yes.
Michelle Obama. And I remember when she did the State of the Union dinner. And
Hmm.
because I'm in marketing and a creative, the way she had that thing laid out, it was absolutely gorgeous, beautiful. And if you never paid any attention to state dinners before, that that was one for the record. Okay. And so, you know, as it goes, there was some grumbling going on, from the other side, and maybe she didn't follow protocol or something happened to where she lost that job as the social secretary at the White House. Okay. So it's like, what happened? What happened to Desiree? And
Right.
so she took over the international beauty business, which is not easy, okay, especially an historically black beauty line. But because she was the social director at the White House, that was a challenge. And because she's a mom, that's a challenge. And
Hmm.
all these things that she does, those are challenges, okay?
Yes.
But to take on the fashion fair, beauty cosmetics, that was a hefty responsibility. And so they asked her, how could she rebuild an iconic beauty brand that's been a household name for years? Okay. And so she's saying that it's not 1973, it's
Hmm.
2021. And then she asked herself, well, what would Miss Johnson do? Because Mrs. Johnson was a trailblazer. Okay. So
Right.
um, she says that it's about reclaiming the position that they once had in 1973, being that trailblazer, being a little and trying to be a little bit different. And so that's our Desiree Rogers, who has now taken over the Fashion Fair Cosmetics. And listen, spring is right around the corner, and I know there are all these different beauty and product lines on the market, but go back and give Fashion Fair a try. They're in Sephora. How do you pronounce it, Dana? That
Sephora.
Sephora.
Sephora. Yes, you got it right. Yeah, yeah.
They've got a shelf, they've got a display in
Mhm.
Sephora. So go on and support them. I know I saw some lipstick I want to get, and
Right. I said you can buy direct from their website too, and their website has been totally redone, and it's just stunning and beautiful. So please visit their website, which is fashionfaircosmetics.com.
great.
Fashionfair.com. Fashionfair.com.
Fashionfair.com.
Yes.
Right. Fall fall back in love with Fashion Fair. All
Yeah.
right. Okay. Now, um, we talked about our sponsors. Oh, now I want to talk about this organization that let's see. I see you in here. I want to talk about this organization, Dana. Let me bring it up on the screen.
South Union Community Development.
That's correct.
That is it.
Right. Now, I am familiar with this organization because back in 2010, Dana, it might have been 2010, 2011, I served on the board of
Hmm.
directors for this organization and helped them to have their inaugural gala.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes, and I was able to bring in the general manager and assistant general manager of the Houston Hobby Airport because I had worked with them here in Atlanta. So that was major for this organization to have somebody at that level support them. But it is the South Union CDC, and they are sowing seeds of success. It's a community development through STEM, and they do things like how do you say it? Hydro agriculture. That's not the word.
Right. There's the hydroponics and there's the hydro um, uh, aquifers, aquifers.
Hydroponics is where you
Hydroponics.
take
Yep.
fruits and vegetables. You don't
Yep.
put it in dirt, but you put it in water.
Yes.
And I did that experiment a couple of years ago with some lettuce. And
Oh,
I put
yeah.
that lettuce in just in some water, Dana, and it just all of a sudden the leaves start coming out just from it in the water. So that's some of the things that they do. They do robotics. I know Hewlett Packard was a supporter of them. They had a teen program out at HP, and we were able to participate in that. And
Wonderful.
so,
Yeah.
yeah, Ephraim Jernigan is the executive director and president of this organization. And so on our website, Dana, we are
Yes.
uh, taking donations. We are supporting this nonprofit organization. I know we're just getting started, but go out to our website,
Hmm.
tripplechange.com, and see where we're supporting South Union. Also, go to their website. There's a donate button up in the upper right corner, but read first about the mission and the things that they are doing in support of science, technology, engineering, and math. All important
Yes.
for our youth,
Our future leaders.
our future leaders,
That's
right?
right.
Who may be binary or non binary. Doesn't matter.
However they want to label themselves. It's
However they want to label themselves. That's right. And I'm not laughing at y'all. I'm laughing with you in that, yes, we should all be respectful
yes.
of how we want to be identified. Okay? So that's who we sponsor, the South Union Community Development Center. Um, what's going on in PDX?
Well, the sun's out. So that makes everyone happy.
The wind is not blowing the internet
My
out of whack.
Wi-Fi working. I mean, gee, I haven't buffered yet.
Okay.
Yeah, all is well here at PDX. We're really working on re-emerging out of COVID, and everyone's very excited about that. Our mask policy is going to be um, optional starting on the 12th. I still will wear my mask because I feel most comfortable with wearing my mask. But our schools and government buildings and most places will be taking that down. I think it's just for across America, it's a big rebirth of getting through this struggle that's just been beyond struggle. for more people, more than just COVID, but other challenges. And so, yeah, things are good here. How about in Atlanta?
Well, girl, look, they closed off my block today because they are filming two movies.
Whoa! Look at
Yes.
you.
One block this way and one block that way. And so, what they do, the production company, of course, comes around to
Yeah.
the neighborhood and leaves you a letter saying that we're going to be filming on this day, this day, this day. The street will be closed. And
Would
so,
you need an
it
extra?
hasn't really been an inconvenience because my crazy self, I'm like, I was up there earlier and I was like, okay, what y'all filming? Is it a murder scene? Is it a chase scene? How can I get in?
Like I was saying, you should be an extra. They're like, hey, I'm Jackie. I'm
How
Jackie.
can
I'm
I be
here.
right? How can I be an extra? Okay, I
Right,
can't be an
right.
extra. Can I go to y'all's food truck? Because I missed senior citizen lunch today. Yes. So, I live in an eclectic little neighborhood, East Point, and they're always Tyler Perry or somebody else is always what's the name of it? Ozark.
Oh, I love Ozark. Oh,
They
yes.
filmed it right
Stop
across
it.
the street.
Oh,
They picked
Jackie.
somebody's house that had some stuff in the backyard, okay, like a little tiny house back there, and
Uh-huh.
they were filming back there. And so, yeah, this little neighborhood is
Well, that's exciting. Yeah.
is very exciting. So, I did send somebody an email that said, "Ooh, I want to be an extra." We'll see.
I'm,
We'll
I'm
see
sure
what.
you did. I think they're calling. I think they're calling you soon.
Maybe. Okay, I just need to be
The word's
ready.
out. The word's
I just need to be ready. Okay.
out. Right, right.
And
Be ready.
so until then, we need you all to go out and sign up and support Trip or Change. We're on Instagram, Trip or Change. We're on YouTube. So go to our channel, our YouTube channel at Trip or Change. But the main thing is go to the website and
Yes.
sign up. Send us your email address because we got good things coming down the pipe
Yes, we do.
and you don't want to miss it. You don't want to miss it. Okay. All right. Now let's get back to the women that we
Yeah. I'm so
admire.
excited about the next two. There's two of my favorite of all time.
All right. So here we go. This is your area right here. Mine
Well,
too.
my recreational area.
Your
Former,
recreation, Miss
former tennis
Pickleball
player, now a
Champion.
pickleballer.
Miss Pickleball Champion. Is it pickleball?
Pickleball. That's what I play now. Yeah, I played tennis
Pickleball.
for years, and then over the course of the past couple years, I've transitioned to playing pickleball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about it then. And up next is Serena and Venus
Yes.
Williams.
Yeah.
Okay. And I know you saw the movie.
King Richard. Loved it.
King Richard. I saw the movie.
So
And
good.
there were some things that I did not know um, from watching the movie. And I think because Will Smith and Serena and Venus were very adamant about true to form.
Hmm.
Those things, of course, they made it glorified just a little bit, but some of the things that man went through in support of his daughters, he recognized early on the talent or the potential
Yes.
for the talent, and he worked it. He worked it, Dana.
Yes, he did.
He worked it, and so
And he
um,
helped change the sport. I mean, one of my favorite things Jackie and I were talking about earlier this week that I loved about it was that he was like, open stance, they'll play open stance. And it was kind of unheard of at the time to play tennis open stance. It was such a, line up your body game. And I always liked playing open stance tennis, and people thought it was like kind of unconventional, but they were who I learned it from. So I was like, well, I'm gonna, I want to hit like Serena.
okay, so explain what is open stance.
So open stance means that your legs are on the horizontal. So when you hit the ball, your legs aren't lined up on top of each other.
Like
So
this. They're like this.
they're instead of being like one on top of the other, an A and a B, you're open. So instead of stacked, you're open, and it allows you to get a bigger snap of the hip. And now, if you look at most tennis players today, they're all hitting that way. Not most, but many. And that was Richard's really big thing, that he was going to have his daughters hit open stance. And it's one of the little things through the movie that he keeps on saying, open stance, open
Open
stance.
stance, open stance. Okay,
And
so
Jackie's like, what was he talking about? I'm like, yeah, it was a definite move against the traditional way to play tennis.
well, speaking of tennis, I don't know if you remember Zena Garrison.
I
Zena Garrison was before the Williams sisters, or they
Okay.
might have been playing, at the same time. But I played tennis in Houston under her coach.
Very cool.
Okay, that was me and Yvette Woods, who is on my list. Yvette
Yes, yes.
Woods, that's where I met her. But that's where we learned to play tennis in Houston. But we're talking about Serena and Venus Williams. Now, during a recent CNN interview with Christina Amanpour, I think that's how you say it.
You did it right. Yes.
Serena Williams talked about how she and Venus transform the history of tennis in so many different ways, because we had never before seen sisters with beads in their heads on the tennis court, because them bees are loud. So when you hitting, right, those bees are
They made a
popping.
statement
Okay,
too. Yes.
they are popping. Okay. And so if you were intimidated by the bees, you lost. You lost.
Right, right.
Okay. So she's talking to Amanpour and about how they changed it, how we changed it from being two great Black champions, Dana, to being
Mhm.
the best ever.
Ever.
Period. And that's what you call a goat. Because we got two goats.
The greatest of all time. Exactly.
The greatest of all time,
Yeah.
right? And she's saying that's what we did. The father set out with a goal in mind, and they played along with it. They went with the bit, and this is the result. She says we took our color and we became the best. Now, other people wanted to put color into it, but they took color out of it. Why? Because it's intelligence over emotion. And when you use intelligence over emotion, you have a better chance of winning. But just to get all emotional, no. You have to be smart about it. So she also said that they changed the sport, Dana.
Yes.
They changed the fashion.
They did.
Okay, they changed the fashion. And speaking of a great, in another great in sports would be Flojo Florence Griffith.
Yes.
Dana, I saw her at the, what was Chris Jenner? What was it?
Bruce Jenner. Bruce
Bruce
Jenner
Jenner.
at the time. Yes.
Bruce Jenner had an annual track meet in Sacramento. And I went this one year, and that was the year Flojo came out with the one-legged running pants, was high on one side, long
Right.
on the
That's
other.
right.
Girl, when she ran and won that race in record time, everybody in the stadium just went crazy because she had that hair, she had
Yes.
nails.
Those nails. I love those nails. Yes.
Love those nails. So when Serena and Venus decided to get into fashion, there was a lot of poo-pah. You're in tennis. Why you want to be in fashion? Well, you can be whatever you want to be,
Yeah.
and you already have your daddy has trained you to be the best at whatever it is that you want to do.
Right.
Okay. So she says we changed the fashion, we changed how people think, we changed how people think in business. Before we played tennis, we wanted to do something different. It was frowned upon. And now I have two amazing companies. One, we came to talk about Serena Ventures, and all because of what we did to change the sport.
Right.
Okay. Now, this girl has raised $111 million for her new venture fund. And she will invest in founders with diverse points of view. That's
Yes,
giving back.
that is giving back. And one quote that I love from her, that was from 2019. A commentator was saying that maybe you should just quit all your other things you're doing and just focus on tennis and winning Grand Slams. And she says the day she stops fighting for equality will be the day I'm in my grave. So she is pushing forward for equality at, at each juncture in all aspects of her life. And I've always loved that quote. And I just have grown to respect both sisters, but Serena, I just really, really admire.
Yes, I do too, Dana.
Yes.
And that's why we have them on today's show. Okay. Serena and Venus Williams. All right. There they are with King Richard.
Yes.
Okay. And I remember this match. You remember this match?
I've watched them as Wimbledon, obviously, because they're in all whites.
Yep. And there's a W over here. It looks like a W and a W up here. So
Yeah.
all right. And now the sisters now. All right. Beautiful. Gorgeous.
Stunning. Yes.
Stunning.
Powerful. Yes.
Powerful. Yes. Yes, Dana. All right. Who we got up next?
Angela
Next
Davis.
is Angela Davis. Angela Davis. Now, Dana, some of the things that I became aware of, politically conscious back in the late 70s, I must have been about 17 years old.
Mhm.
And I had done a lot of reading, Black literature. I was in the movement, say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud, and all of that. And so Angela Davis, as a political activist, professor. Right now, she's a political activist, professor, and a celebrated art author.
Mhm.
This picture right here says a lot for me because I was a big supporter of Angela Davis back in the day. And that's when we were wearing big afros too. And
Mhm.
she had the biggest afro I had ever seen. And so, what she went through and to come out the way she did, tragedy or triumph. And in this case, it was a triumph. Um, she became a professor at UCLA, but fell out of favor with the administration because of her ties um, with the Soledad brothers. Okay.
Yes.
Who were accused of killing a prison guard. And during George Jackson, one of the Soledad brothers' trial in August of 1970, an escape attempt was made at gunpoint, and several people were killed. And they said that Angela Davis took part in the event, and she was charged with murder. But evidence showed that the guns were registered to her, um and that she was in love with Jackson. So, you got George, that love connection, and I'm gonna stand by your brother no matter what. And so that was not enough to send her to prison for life. She went on the FBI's most wanted list, Dana. And I
Mhm.
remember that. And there was the flyers, free Angela Davis. We were all in protest, free Angela Davis. Okay.
Yes.
Um, but she spent 18 months. That's not a long time. 18 months in jail, which led to the Free Angela Davis campaign and the Angela Davis Legal Defense Fund Committee. I remember that distinctly. Now, and also for those boomers and people who are familiar with the Beatles,
I did not
John
know this.
Lennon,
Yes. I learned.
John Lennon and
Yes.
Yoko Ono wrote a tune called Angela. I'm gonna have to go back on uh uh Amazon Music and pull that one up.
Yes.
And The Rolling Stones wrote Sweet Black Angel. I didn't know that.
We have to play both those songs.
We have to play
Exactly.
both of those songs. And
Yes.
so now after she got out of prison, Dana, she spent time traveling and lecturing and then returned to teaching. And today she is a distinguished professor emerita. Did I say that right? Emerita
Yes.
at the University of California in Santa Cruz. And I'm loving that hair, girl. I'm loving that hair,
Yeah,
Miss
reminds me of
Angela
someone else there.
Davis.
Looks familiar.
Looks familiar.
Love
I
it.
got one that color.
We can get you one.
Yeah, that's Miss Angela Davis. That's her now, a professor at the University of California. So that was major. She only spent 18 months in prison, Dana.
I know. Yeah.
18 months. And so I distinctly remember that. Okay, so moving on. Who's next? Oh, my girl, Diane Carroll.
Yes.
Diane Carroll. You remember Diane
Oh,
Carroll?
of course. Yes.
Um, Now she rose to prominence in some of the earliest major studio films to feature black casts, including Carmen Jones in 1954. I was 1 years old when she did when she did Carmen Jones.
Hmm.
But Dorothy Dandridge was in that movie too. Okay. And so she got an early start in Hollywood. Um, she was also in Porgy and Bess in 1959. And in 1962, she won a Tony Award for Best Actress in a Musical. And that was the first, Dana, for
Yes.
African American woman.
The first.
The first. Last week we had a lot of first. It was the first this and the first
Yep.
that. I even have a few first. Okay. And I have a few onlys too. First
We'll hear about those later.
onlys.
Yes. Yes.
Right. Um, for her role in the Broadway musical. So she won this Tony Award for No Strings. All right. And in 1974, she starred in Claudine, where
Hmm.
she was this mother of about 4 or 5 kids with a teenage daughter. And James Earl Jones was the garbage man, and he
Love
saw her
him.
one day, and then there was a connection. That was a wonderful movie. Right. And
Yes.
so she was nominated for an Academy Award for that one as for Best Actress, but apparently she didn't win. Now, do you remember her in Julia, where she played the nurse and she had the little boy named Corey?
Yes, I do. I do.
Again, as a black woman, a kid, with a big black and white TV, to see people who look like me on these shows, it was uplifting,
Yes.
and
So important.
it's so important. Okay. Now I know, wait a minute. Let me move. Let me see. I didn't move the slide. Okay. Now I know you remember this character. In Dynasty,
Yes.
she played Dominique Devereaux.
Yes.
Oh,
She
she
was
was
in
a
Dynasty with
bad
her
mamma
dad.
jamma.
He was huge into Dynasty. Dallas and Dynasty. Woo. So excited.
Yep. Yep. So when they brought her on, I was like, oh, yes, yes, yes. They brought the
Stunning.
Diane Carroll, a mixed race diva, okay, on Dynasty. Um, and so yeah, Miss Diane Carroll, her in the later years, beautiful woman, just absolutely gorgeous. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, let me mention this. I think I told you, I said I was taking a trip and she was on my flight. And I had Courtney, my daughter, who must have been about maybe 18 months, maybe 24 months too. And she's in a stroller. And Miss Carol was like, "Oh, what a beautiful baby."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, and it's mine. She's mine." And she autographed. I said, "Let me find something that she can autograph." And she autographed the back of one of Courtney's pictures, which I still have today. So that'll always be special.
That's a
Uh,
memory. Yes. Just to be in her presence. Yes.
right, to be up close, because you see people on TV and you admire them from afar, but yeah, to be there and see her, that was very special. So hats off to you, Miss Diane Carroll.
Yes.
Yes. Hmm.
Cheers, cheers.
Now that brings me to Kerry Washington. Why Kerry Washington? Because Kerry Washington admired Diane Carroll a lot. Because there's a lot, Dana, that you can get caught up in Hollywood. You could be typecast a certain role, or some unscrupulous things that go on.
I've
Weinstein,
heard. Yes.
okay, and so, but Kerry Washington patterned a lot of what she does and what she did after Diane Carroll. So Diane Carroll became like a mentor to Kerry
Mhm.
Washington. And Kerry Washington, um, you know, she she came to prominence with Scandal, but
My mom's favorite show. Yes.
girl, look, it was mine too. So,
Yes.
so again, so who can forget Olivia Pope? Okay, we were glued to our seats, tapping away on our phones at the time, and on the online chats. We were in the at the water cooler, like, oh, did you
Right?
see? Did you hear? Did you know? I can't wait to the next episode. It had a lot of people glued to Scandal. Okay. And I think I must have binged 6 times. I might even go back and binge again and
Let's do
take
it
a look.
together. Let's do it. I've never gotten through all of it. I want to do it. So let's do it together. Have a
What?
little binge party.
Oh, that girl with our wine.
Yeah.
That would be fantastic. So it was the white hat wearing Kerry Washington,
Hmm.
as Olivia, that gave power and independence to a black female owned business in Washington, D.C. And what was she doing? Cleaning up the mess of people in Washington. Okay.
Yeah.
And she was connected all the way to the top seat in the White House. Okay, well, I won't go into detail since you haven't
Don't
seen
give it
all
away.
of it.
Yeah.
Okay, but to have that kind of power in that kind of role, Shonda Rhimes that was
Mm,
brilliant.
yes.
Okay, that was brilliant. Okay, we got somebody who is this? Oh, take her out. We got somebody trying to get in.
Uh-oh.
Uh, okay, let's see if we can get him. I don't see him, but uh I know he's trying to get in. Oh, they muted themselves. Okay. Anyway, let's continue on.
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan is the executive director over at the South Union.
Oh,
So
great.
yeah, we're
Wonderful.
trying to get him in, but he's muted right now. So let's continue. Oh, here now, Kerry Washington, and I didn't know this, was an activist long before she gave power to Olivia Pope. Okay, long before she became a star, and after the 2016 election, she threw herself into political activism. It's like, okay, now what?
Mhm.
She spoke at the Los Angeles Women's March in 2017. She stumped for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris in 2020. I didn't know that. And worked with local activists and Stacey Abrams here in Atlanta, in
Love Stacey
Georgia,
Abrams.
to
Yes.
get out the vote. I told you I'm already signed up for the campaign.
Yes.
Yep, I've signed up for the campaign, and we'll see what happens, what comes down the pipe
Great.
later on. So that's Miss Kerry
Well,
Washington.
I also added to the show notes because I was reading headlines before our show started. And yesterday, Carrie was named one of Time Magazine's Women of the Year,
Yes.
which is so exciting. So I have to give a shout out to her for that acknowledgement. It was amazing.
And let's acknowledge this about her as well. We talked about Serena Williams and that $111 million venture capitalist to work with diverse entrepreneurs. But Kerry Washington has also invested in several women led startups in the health companies SOLV,
Hmm.
and a sustainable jewelry brand called Arante, Aurate. She also runs a production company, Simpson Street. And what's interesting about the name Simpson is that that was the name of the street where her mother grew up in the Bronx. And so she acknowledges her mother and her four aunts and the street that they were raised
Hmm.
on, and the inspiring stories that they can tell and their friends can tell. And so that's kind of like what we're doing with Triple Change. What they're doing is they're focusing on bringing, Dana, the stories of women of
Hmm.
color to life with projects like the 2016 movie Confirmation. I'm going to have to look that one up. The
Yeah.
2019 film adaptation of the play American Son, and the 2020 series Little Fires Everywhere. I think that might be on Netflix.
Yeah, I watched it. I loved it. I read the book. And she and Reese Witherspoon star in that, and it's phenomenal.
Is that right?
Yes, it's worth a watch or two. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I had to go back and rewatch several of the shows because I was like, did I understand and process everything that just delivered? Because it's a lot of intense material, but it's just so powerful.
Uh, I have that on my list to take a gander at since talking about it. And
Nice.
again, these links and to the websites and references will be available in the show notes. Okay. All right. Who we got coming up next? Are you surprised?
Rihanna.
Oh my!
Rihanna.
Rihanna.
Yes.
Rihanna. Rihanna. Why did we add Rihanna? Because, oh, and I don't know about you, Dana, when you were pregnant with your boys,
I
um,
covered up.
we covered up.
Yeah. Yeah.
We covered up. We had maternity outfits that covered everything.
Yes. Big blousy pieces.
Big
Blousy pieces.
blousy pieces, long sleeves,
Yes.
okay, just balloon stuff. Okay, sweatsuit sets. But now this generation, and she's not the first. We talked about that, and you showed a picture of Jada Pinkett Smith.
Yes.
But as I was doing the research, there's been plenty of them. Even Kim Kardashian showing their skin while they're pregnant. Okay, now I don't know, Dana, as a boomer, I don't know if I would be able to feel comfortable with this much skin showing in both of these pictures, especially this one. She is out in public. There's men around. Okay. And I think for me, I was a little concerned about the little panties there. This one over here, I might be more inclined,
Right. Right.
but but again, when we talk about genders and we talk about owning your body, owning your presence, then
And
this is what this is.
celebrating your body and being modern and open. Yes. She's sharing that she's pregnant and enjoying her body and her life. She's embracing this period, celebrating it.
Yes, and I know that's true to your heart to be able to express yourself and celebrate who you are. But I have to take take a back just a little bit, because to me you can still accomplish that, but with subtlety.
Yes, but she's Rihanna, so she gets to do what she wants to do.
That's what y'all say. Okay, she's Riri. Okay,
So
let
she
Riri be Riri.
right. So some
Okay.
of the quotes is that she's saying that she's having fun. and that it's been a challenge to play with fashion when she's pregnant. But I think she's doing a pretty good job of it.
There were some outfits, Dana, that I saw on the internet that would pass, but that black one right there, grandma is turning over in her grave. Okay. Oh, in the words of Whitney Houston, hell to the no. That's just too much. But that's my generation. So now, I think the one that comes to mind for me was Beyonce when she did that photo
Oh
shoot
yes,
with the
that was
flowers.
gorgeous.
Absolutely gorgeous. Okay. And so now Rihanna is taking it even a step further. Okay. And so I would suspect, Dana, that this spring, because there's a whole bunch of babies been made this past winter during COVID. So this spring, when these babies, when these mothers are around pregnant, that they're gonna feel just as empowered to wear whatever they want to wear. But let's keep in mind that Rihanna is an international entertainment star
Yes,
who owns a lingerie brand called
yes,
Fenty.
yes.
Okay.
This is her business.
And she might even be a billionaire by now. Those three things might not fit you. And so sometimes we want to emulate, and that's okay, but just use subtlety. Okay. Just use subtlety. So we are giving a shout out to Miss Rihanna for her bold, empowering, and fashionable leadership on modern pregnancy. Because that wasn't like that when I was pregnant.
Me neither.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
It was
It
not
looks
like
good
that.
on her. I don't know if I can pull it off today.
I couldn't pull that off.
Right,
Maybe
right,
around the house, but not outside.
right.
I could not walk up the street while they filming a movie wearing that.
Right.
Production was shut down. All right. Speaking of beauty, all right. Our next woman that we admire is Naomi Osaka.
Osaka.
Osaka. Tell me about Naomi, Miss Dana.
Well, then we come on the scene, and she famously beat Serena during a finals match. And she is uh, a very, in my opinion, a very modest player. And what we've learned about her over time is that she actually has had some significant mental health challenges. And so she's become a trailblazer for mental health. And she has started many conversations about the importance of mental health. Was started when she didn't want to do deal with the press after she had a loss or after she played a match. And some people in the tennis community criticized her for that. But she's really come out and said it's okay not to be okay. And that's been on the cover of Time magazine. And she's really focused on mental health for all people, especially for tennis players, saying and players should be able to occasionally opt out. She says the way any other worker would have access to sick days or personal days, it's supposed to be able to take time off without having to share their private medical history or symptoms. So she's really become an advocate for mental health, which, as you know, we talk a lot about, and just the importance of not hiding it, but being open about it, or at least working on yourself. And so I love that. But she also, back to our original makeup conversation, she has recently launched a new melanin-focused skincare line called Kinlo, Kinlo. Oh, here's your friend.
Yes. Hello there.
Hi.
Hello, everybody.
Yes. Hello there, Ephraim. How you doing?
Girl, you better get my name right. You've been knowing me too long.
Ephraim Jernigan.
You right.
I see.
Good to see
See,
you. Hi,
we go too far back, and we'll be getting into it. But good to see y'all.
Yes, and that's Dana Bach, my good friend out in
hi.
Portland, Oregon.
I've known you since last week when whenever it was, I got on the podcast and I really enjoyed you all. Y'all firing it up.
Yay! Thanks. We're
Thank
having a lot of
you.
fun. Thanks for
Thank
joining
you.
us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we were gonna talk. We talked about South Union, but we'll come back to it. We're finishing out the women that we admire, and so we're talking about Naomi Osaka, and Dana was telling us about the mental challenges that she faced as a international tennis star and her advocacy of mental health, especially in the sports industry.
And then recently, she has launched a melanin-focused skincare line for athletes and anybody with the need of a tinted sunscreen. And it's hit the market. And it's getting rave reviews. And so she was able to bring her vision to life. She teamed up with a dermatologist that's really admired in the field. And she says, this is a public health need. And so she used to tell people all the time that she didn't need to wear sunscreen, but even if you have melanin, you need to take care of your skin. And she's passionate about that. So another trailblazer, young trailblazer coming up, but someone that can teach us all a lot about life.
And you know what, Dana, when I read that, where she made that statement about, I don't need sunscreen, I used to think the same thing because I have a lot of melanin. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm also a sunbather. I love the
You love the
beach.
sun.
I
Yes.
love the sun. And I for a long time I used Band-Aid Soleil for the Central Pay
Hey,
tan.
tan. That's
For
right.
the, for the
Yeah. Yeah.
Central Pay tan.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. And then if I didn't have any Band-Aid Soleil, I would use cocoa butter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me tell you this real quick. So when I was a young girl, maybe 12 or 13, my mom would send us to summer camp. And so I went to summer camp this one year and I forgot my lotion.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked the little white girl that was in the cabin with me, could I use her lotion? So the whole time I'm at camp, I'm using this girl's lotion and running around doing camp things. And when at the end of the summer camp and they dropped us off, the bus dropped us off, and the parents were standing around, nobody recognized me because I had turned like 4 or 5 shades from because the girl in my cabin had suntan lotion. So the
Oh,
whole time I'm using suntan
oh,
lotion, I tan. Okay.
yeah. The sun got you.
The sun got me. But I do know that as a black woman, because I love sunbathing, you have to have protection. You
Yes.
just can't say, oh, I've got plenty of melanin. We burn just like everybody else burns. And
Yes.
so,
And you got to take care of
um,
Amen.
yes.
right. And so it's important when you out there in the sun to protect yourself. So then what we might do is buy some of this and then do a little product review later
Let's
on.
do that. Yes.
Yes, let's
Yeah.
do that.
I'll order some for us. Great.
All right, wonderful.
Putting in my
Okay,
notes.
okay. So, Mr. Ephraim, you ready?
Yes, I am. I was trying to sneak a bite, but I'm through.
Okay. We saw you. We saw you take the
Multitasking.
camera off. Yeah, there
Okay,
you
I'm
are.
back.
Okay. So what I explained to Dana was that some years ago, maybe in 2010, I served on the board for the South Union Community Development Center, and how we were able to get the general manager and assistant general manager for the Hobby Airport to help sponsor that inaugural gala event, and how that you are working with possibly Nike to bring 50 to 60 students to the Portland area, which is where Dana is located.
I'm
She's in
here.
Portland.
I'd love
And
to come in.
so,
Well, let me clear that up a little bit. You ready for the real narrative?
yes, talk to us.
Okay, my daughter, only daughter, just got married in Cabo 2 weeks ago, and I was shocked at her connectivity. She makes drinks for Ciroc but her and her husband had a connection with a young lady that's at the manufacturing plant or whatever. And so we have a big old tennis shoe. Well, actually, let me rewind. We had on Tux and tennis shoes. And Nike supported all the tennis shoes that everybody had on. And they made this cake, big old cake. And it was a tennis shoe. And so the young lady that pulled all this off, she was there and she said, I did all of this for your outstanding daughter. Now, Jackie, you worked with my daughter when my daughter was on the board when you was. So
Right.
what are we talking about, 12, 15 years ago?
About that long ago.
Yep. So we planted the idea of taking my STEM kids. I have a program called GEEK, which stands for Global Education Exchange Coalition. So we've taken the kids to South Africa and Washington, D.C., and we do these events called Steam the Block in, Steam the Block in South Africa, Steam the Block in D.C. We even did Steam the Block in H-Town. And we're thinking about doing Steam the Block in Portland, Oregon, but we haven't told Nike yet. So
okay,
we haven't worked the magic yet.
We'll work on that.
Okay. So we're talking about potentially 50 to 80 kids coming from Houston, Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., Nashville, Tennessee, and South Africa. So,
amazing.
Yeah, that's how we do it.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Dana and I were talking about some of the programs, and say the name again.
Aquaponics. That's what we do.
Aquaponics, right?
Jackie.
And I was telling her how I had taken that lettuce and just stuck it in some water, and how the leaves came out. Then I went on your website and I saw that you had a whole farm in the backyard there doing
We're teaching kids how to grow with aquaponics, which is fish and water. And there's actually a couple of people that I invited to your podcast. They're waiting to get let in.
Okay.
Oh yeah, there's Rob. So now Rob is my neighbor, and we're actually building a solar race car. I don't know if you've seen that on social media.
Amazing.
Yep. Well, if we're doing solar, we might as well let the kids have fun in solar. That's how we teach. Our teaching is not boring. And Jackie, let me rewind. Remember when we did have the gala? You remember who our keynote speaker was?
Yes, that was Mario Diaz, the general manager for the Houston Hobby Airport.
Yep, but who was the speaker?
Oh.
Dr. Bernard, astronaut, Dr. Bernard Harris.
Yes, yeah. Dana, we had the astronaut. That's right.
That's cool.
Yep.
So we have done some things together.
So, Mr. Lee, tell me about your involvement with South Union.
Yes, I am Ephraim's neighbor, and he started. We had a very interesting merge where we were standing out in the front yard talking about rockets, and he was doing model rockets, and he was firing them up. And in an urban area, you have to have certain environmental things in your favor. Otherwise, if you fire it up too high and the parachute comes out, the wind takes it and it's gone. It just goes. And so I sat down with him and I built him a alcohol rocket where you take a 2-liter bottle of, say, Coke or something like that that's empty. You pour a little bit of alcohol in it, you shake it up, and you stick it on the end of a PVC pipe, and children get to fire it off, and it goes. It makes a big boom, and it rockets off. And we started building those so that he could take them to the class, and he could explain the concept and science of vapor expansion and how that turns into energy and how that energy creates movement in physics. Okay. And we could take that, move it forward in that simple things that you have. And I was doing everything out of scrap. The only thing I had to purchase out of this entire thing was the igniter that came from a barbecue grill, and how to adapt those things into movement. And then you could take the discussion further. Okay, we started with a very simplistic concept and how to take it further. And from that, Ephraim and I started talking about solar cars, and we purchased some little model kits where it's mounted with a battery and it also had a solar panel. You flip the switch to one side and the battery causes the little car to move. You flip it to the other side and the solar panel causes it to move. Well, Ephraim, being Ephraim, challenged me.
I know he did.
And he looked at me and goes, dude, we got to build one of these that the kids can sit on and drive around. And I went, okay. I've got my welder. I've got my cutting tools. Okay, let me think about this. Let me think about it. And he brought me a what I call a garden cart.
Yes, a little small, might
tiny,
be 2 feet.
Yeah, little garden cart that you sit on and you ride around between the rows and you get to pick things and that type of thing. Well, we broke out the Sawzall. We broke out the welder. We've been cutting this thing up, stretching it out, making it wider, and we took motors out of a child's toy, cut those up, got them set on there, and hooked a battery on it, and the kids were riding it. Okay.
In 3 days.
Amazing.
And now it's to be kind, it's ugly. Okay. we have not ground down the weld marks. We haven't made it pretty. You know, we're operating under the idea of shine it may, run it must. Okay.
And it did.
And we're talking, Ephraim and I have been talking about, once we get it to a point and it really is working well, and it's ready to go, we take photographs of the cart and we have the kids color it up in a contest. And then we pick a design, the children pick a design, and then they paint it. The kids get to get into it, make it their own.
Hands on.
And the idea here is on the control bar, okay, on the steering system, there'll be a switch right up here where you can go battery, drive it, okay, flip it down, and up above you is a full-size, house-size solar panel.
I see it.
And you could flip it down to solar panel, and you can go. Now, it's not going to be any land speed records, that type of thing. But the idea here is that we take things that we have and we adapt them to the task. And right now we've taken motors out of children's toys. Next, we're going to take a motor off of an electric bicycle that my brother had for scrap. We're taking scrap and we're going to turn it into what we want. And then after that, we're going to take a alternator out of an automobile, convert that into an electric motor.
But now, how does this play into, your goals moving forward through 2022, coming out of the pandemic? In other words, I see the growth in the organization from when I was in it, right? And I'm still in it. Once you're in it, you're never out of it. Okay.
You're never out.
Mind, body, or spirit. Okay. So, in terms of if we're when we're fundraising, what do you want people to know about South Union CDC?
Oh.
Ephraim.
Okay, so this is some information you probably not aware of. This happened in the last 3 years, but there's a 50 megawatt solar farm that's coming to Sunnyside. It used to be a 240 acre landfill. It's right off of Reed Road, Belford, and 288. You
Oh, I
familiar with
know. Okay, I know where that is.
Sunnyside Park? So that's me. So to prepare the community, we put solar on my birth home. We built a solar outdoor classroom on the adjacent property. We're building a solar indoor classroom. We have a community garden with a solar that's tracking with the sun. And we have a veterans garden on our acre and a half directly across from the 240 acre solar farm to be. So a lot is going on. And so because of where I am, people are donating panels to me. And so I tell Rob, somebody gave me 28 panels today. And so we decide, well, let's make solar race cars. So that's how we got here.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. All
So we
right.
got to grab the community, especially youth, grab their attention. And what we're doing, we got everybody, we having a summer camp, not a summer camp, we having a spring camp Monday through Friday next week. We had a summer camp, we had an after Christmas camp, and we just stemming these kids up.
That is so great. Community
Yes.
building. Yes.
And
Right.
the key point here is, as Ephraim has tried to instill in me and keeps pushing forward, is whatever we do, the children have to put their hands on it.
Yeah.
Okay. It can't be me and Ephraim doing fancy stuff and showing up with it. We've got to show up with things that they can put wrenches on and they can go ahead and put together.
Now they are, go ahead, Dana.
So two of my sons are Montessori kids. And what I'm so thankful about is that maker space. And I was telling Jackie a while ago, when Sammy fell in love with felting in fourth grade, but this year they built a bike from the ground up, similar to what you're doing, but on a lower level. But they learned how to build the bike, and now they're putting brakes on the bike. So they're learning about all the componentry and and
yes.
So it's such a rewarding education. Thank you for doing the work, because I see it in my house firsthand, and it's really amazing.
Now, tell your boys, or even if you have a daughter, the Geek program is a Saturday program at 9 a.m. in the morning. I think we're on the same time. And so they're welcome to chime in.
Okay.
On that call is Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., South Africa. So we stem up these kids on the third Saturday of every month. So I'll share the next
share
program.
share that information, and then we'll report on it again. We're almost ready to wind down this particular podcast, and I know I appreciate you so much coming on, because this was last minute, and then you brought your neighbor Rob in. Can I call you Rob?
Okay.
Rob?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what I call it.
You need to get on. You need to get on this podcast. And so I thank you. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I know Dana thanks you.
And I love learning more about your mission and what you're doing. So thank you for sharing.
And let's plan on doing it again. Let's plan on doing it again, okay?
All right.
Thank you.
Adios. Enjoy, y'all. See you in the future.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, wait a minute. There's Carrie. Hold on just a minute since she came. Hey, Carrie.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, we're great. You was in the green room, but you couldn't hear me and I couldn't hear you.
Yes.
We're getting ready to wrap up the show a little bit, but just tell us your involvement with South Union.
Of course. So I am Mr. Ephraim's intern. I go to Prairie View A&M University currently. Yes, I study agriculture, crop and soil science. There's about 15 of us there currently. But yeah, so I studied in New York at the Culinary Institute of America. So I'm also a trained chef. So my component is bringing farm to table concept to Mr. Ephraim's farm, and collaborating and doing a lot of research and development and understanding the different methods of vegetation and how to grow them. So I'm the researcher, I guess you want to call it, or the scientist, and along with Mr. Ephraim, and I just assist in whatever ways that I can.
Carrie, let me tell you something that I learned today.
Mm-hmm.
I learned that you can take a strawberry and you can peel off the skin of the strawberry, Dana. Put the
Wow.
skin in some dirt, and the strawberry will propagate and grow into a plant.
Yeah.
I learned today, um, looking at getting some information about South Union. I learned that you could take the banana and take that middle part of that banana, that juicy part out in the banana, put it in some dirt, and it will grow a banana tree.
Yep.
I'm
Along with the
fascinated.
blueberries are marvelous time right now currently to go ahead and you just squish it and you put it in some dirt and it'll grow.
You
Mm-hmm.
just squish the blueberry
Amazing.
and just
Yes.
put it in some dirt.
Water it and you'll start to see the leaves grow and it, yeah.
I need to do that. Yes.
We didn't know that.
And
I
so
didn't know that.
imagine you working with these kids, and we created what's called the Green Energy Challenge. You
Mhm.
on the soil team, you on the water team. So you got soil competing with aquaponics, and fish are in the game, and it is just a whole different learning experience.
Wonderful.
That is awesome.
Wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Those are
Thank
some
you.
of the small things that we teach at the farm and many more. Yeah.
Well, Carrie, we want to have you all back on, and so we're gonna set it up. Dana's the producer of this podcast, and so as a matter of fact, let me run this so you can see it. Wait,
All right.
There we
Thank you.
go. Yeah.
Good job.
okay, we support y'all.
Now let me say this, Carrie and Robert, um, Jackie used to be a part of the South Union Community Development Board 12, 15 years ago, and we have always stayed connected. And, you know, she has some energy that you all to see. Love your energy. That's it.
Yes, she
Love
does.
it. Thank you
Okay.
so much for having us.
All
Oh,
right.
you're very welcome. You're very welcome. I will see you again.
Yes.
All righty.
Thanks for coming.
Adios.
Thank you all. See you soon. What cool work. Oh my gosh, totally up our alley. Love it.
Yes.
Great. I was like, that all came together. It happened.
Yes,
Yay.
it did.
Yes,
Yay.
it
Trip of
did. Feels
change.
so good to have a purpose with passionate people. So obviously he is so passionate and well versed in what he's doing, but we can share it with him on a different knowledge level. But I mean, how wonderful that we can support him and what he's doing with the STEM kids and around the world.
Absolutely.
I mean, not just in his community, but he's like, I've got kids from LA and DC and, you know, South Africa. I mean, that's really
Right.
powerful.
And that's what we say in our opening statement, around
In
the world.
Yes,
Around the world.
exactly. Yeah,
Yes.
what a treat. That was great.
Yes, yes, yes. So we'll have to set that up.
Yes.
Maybe that would be good for an upcoming podcast to include the Federation of Farmer Cooperatives, the
Yes, up the street.
organization that's next door. Because right now, Dana, here in the Atlanta area, it's almost planting season.
Right.
And so, you know, I saw this morning there was still frost on the car. And so the lawn man said, wait till the middle of March. And so I've got my seeds ready. I've been
Okay.
kind of digging up weeds, you know, when the
Right,
weather
right.
is nice, in preparation. And so we're talking about maybe May, maybe the month of May. And so let's put them down. Okay, because
Yeah,
that was
wonderful.
excellent.
In May. They're
I
wonderful.
miss them.
That
I
was
miss
so
them.
great. Yes, and I'm so
Yeah.
excited about how I can help in any way possible and make their dream of getting out to Portland and experiencing the Nike campus happen.
See what you can do, girl. See what you
Exactly.
can do.
Yes.
Okay. So we finished up with the women that we admire. And we added a special treat with the South Union Community Development Center and my friends over there. And we will be bringing them back on again for another episode. And so, Dana, that's pretty much it in terms of the women that we admire. But let's not forget some of those that we know personally.
Yes.
Who have impacted our lives. And so, who you got?
Well, I was wondering if, because I have not next week, but the week after, I'm going to talk about kind of my natural story. So should we save these amazing women until then, till we have more time?
We can save them. We can save them for, because on the 16th, that's going to be a pre-recorded episode. What we doing on the 16th, Dana?
We are celebrating Jackie Robinson, and Jackie is having a birthday, another trip around the sun.
Another trip around the sun. Thank you, Jesus.
Yes. And it is an exciting birthday because it's a final chapter of a decade birthday, correct?
Yes, the last of the 60s.
Yes.
And we will talk about living life in increments of 10.
Yes.
And so look forward to that for next week. I haven't decided if I'm going to go to the beach.
Okay.
Because Jacksonville is just a 3-hour drive. If you drive fast, it's just a 3-hour drive away. Okay.
Nice.
Okay. Otherwise, I have to find me a little ticket to just go down and hang out at the beach with some of my friends down there in Jacksonville. And so, yeah, we will talk about our personal sheroes who have had an impact on our life in the episode on March the 23rd.
Yes. Yeah. My sheroes fall in line with my story on the 23rd. So I'm going to keep them all there together.
Yes, we will. So, so again, to support our podcast, go out to tripofchange.com and sign up.
Yes,
we are taking donations because we are now in support of the South Union CDC STEM program.
Yes, learning so much.
A STEM program in Houston. And go out there and help us support them. Or we're on Instagram where you can get announcements of upcoming shows and the things that we're doing. And of course, we'd like for you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. But most importantly, we want you to go to the website, tripofchange.com, and send us your email address. And if you want to get in contact directly, there's my email address, and then there's Dana, who's the producer of Trip of Change.
Yes.
Okay. You can email her. There's her email address. And again, go out and support Healthful Essence.
Yes.
Our sponsor, our show sponsor. They can be found at healthfulessence.com. You can order online, and they have the Clover app where you can get a discount. They have Uber Eats and the other one, Dashboard. DoorDash.
Yes, and Grubhub. Yeah, all those ones.
All them dashes, okay? Just go on out there, and if you're in Atlanta, be sure to visit them at 875 York in the West End. All right.
Great.
Ms. Bach.
We did good. I think it's our longest.
It is.
Ever. Look at us.
With no breaks, no Wi-Fi breaks.
I tell you, no bathroom breaks.
No bathroom breaks.
For Jackie.
We got the camera. We got the lights working.
I know, right?
Yeah.
The whole time. I mean, watch out, world. It's happening. Did I lose your audio, Jackie?
Oh, there I am. I got so excited.
Jackie lost her audio.
No, we don't want to lose nothing. We had such a good, clean show today. All right, Miss Bach.
Mwah, love you.
Love you back, girl. Love you back. And that concludes this episode of Trip or Change, a podcast with Jackie Robinson and our co-host and producer, Dana Bach. Until next time, keep smiling and take a trip or change.
Bye.